As winter blankets the kingdom in a shimmering quilt of snow and ice, join Princess Elara on a mystical journey to the edge of a frozen lake, where whispers of ancient guardians echo through the night. Drawn by the lake's enchanting beauty and haunting melodies, Elara discovers a hidden realm beneath the ice, teeming with secrets waiting to be unveiled. In a tale of courage and connection, she must navigate the delicate balance between light and shadow to fulfill a promise that binds her to the guardians of the lake. Close your eyes and let the magic of Elara's adventure guide you into a peaceful slumber, where dreams dance like snowflakes in the night. Winter had come abruptly to the kingdom, draping the land in a thick quilt of snow and ice. The castle, perched upon a hill like a crown of stone, overlooked a landscape transformed into a realm of white silence. Princess Elara stood at her chamber window, gazing out at the world below. The sky was a canvas of deep indigo, pierced by the cold glow of distant stars. Yet it was the frozen lake beneath the castle that captured her attention, a mirror of silver under the pale moonlight, shimmering as if galaxies swirled just beneath its surface. Whispers drifted through the corridors of the castle, servants speaking in hushed tones about the lake. They spoke of strange melodies that rode on the winds at night, ethereal and haunting, seeping through the very stones of the fortress. Some said they heard faint laughter. Others swore they caught glimpses of shadows flitting across the ice, only to vanish when looked at directly. Elara felt a pull in her chest, a stirring curiosity that beckoned her to the lake's edge, despite the apprehension that shadowed the faces of those around her. One evening, unable to resist the lake's enigmatic allure, Elara wrapped herself in a cloak of deep crimson and ventured out into the frosty air. The snow crunched softly beneath her boots as she descended the winding path leading to the shore. The castle loomed behind her, its windows glowing like ember eyes in the darkness. As she approached, the air grew still, the usual night sounds fading into a profound silence that seemed to hold its breath. Standing at the edge of the frozen expanse, Elara felt a strange sensation wash over her, a blend of awe and unease. The ice was flawlessly smooth, unmarred by cracks or snow, reflecting the moon so perfectly that it seemed as though she stood at the boundary between two worlds. She knelt and reached out, her fingertips grazing the icy surface. A chill shot through her, but beneath it was a flicker of warmth, a subtle thrum like the distant echo of a heartbeat. Princess. The word was but a breath, a sigh carried on the faintest of breezes. Elara started, glancing around to see who had spoken, but she was alone. The trees stood motionless, their branches skeletal against the sky. She looked back at the lake, her reflection gazing up at her with eyes that seemed to hold secrets of their own. The wind picked up suddenly, swirling snowflakes into delicate spirals around her. Within the gusts, she could almost discern voices, soft, melodious, weaving together in an ancient harmony. It was as if the very air whispered tales of long-forgotten times. Shadows danced at the periphery of her vision, elusive and intangible. Ilara's heart quickened, not with fear, but with a profound sense of connection to something vast and unfathomable. Reluctant to leave but sensing the night's deepening chill, she rose and made her way back to the castle. Sleep did not come easily. Her dreams were vivid tapestries of light and shadow, of figures moving beneath the ice, their faces obscured yet undeniably aware of her. She awoke before dawn, the images lingering like mist in her mind. Over the following days, Ilara found herself returning to the lake repeatedly. Each visit intensified her fascination. She began to notice patterns in the way the light refracted within the ice, hints of movement that could not be solely attributed to her imagination. The servants grew concerned, their whispers now tinged with fear as they observed her frequent excursions. "Your Highness, it's best to stay away from that place," cautioned Mariana, her most trusted lady-in-waiting. "The lake holds mysteries that are better left undisturbed." Ilara offered a reassuring smile. "Mysteries are the seeds of knowledge, Mariana. How can we grow if we do not seek to understand?" Yet, despite her brave words, Ilara could not shake the feeling that she was standing on the threshold of something immense, a gateway to realms unseen. The lake was a riddle wrapped in ice and silence, and she was determined to unravel it. One night, as the moon hung low and full, casting an otherworldly glow upon the land, Ilara made her way to the lake once more. This time, she brought with her a lantern, its flame guarded by etched glass. As she approached, the light seemed to bend and refract upon the ice, creating a cascade of colors that danced beneath her feet. "Who are you?" she whispered into the night, her breath forming ephemeral clouds that drifted away into nothingness. "What do you want from me?" The response was immediate, a gentle ripple that spread across the ice, though no stone had been cast, no creature had disturbed its surface. And then, just for a moment, she saw them, silhouettes beneath the ice, graceful and otherworldly, their eyes closed as if in slumber. They were there and then gone, leaving only the echo of their presence in her mind. Ilara knew then that the lake was more than it seemed, a veil over secrets waiting to be unveiled. An ancient watchfulness lingered there, and she felt its gaze upon her, inviting yet cautious. Determination settled within her. Whatever lay beneath the frozen surface, she was bound to discover it. The whispers in the frost had become a call she could no longer ignore. The night deepened, and the winter air grew colder, settling over the kingdom like a veil of frozen breath. Ilara felt the silence of the lake as a presence, an entity waiting for her return. Each step she took down the winding path felt like a descent into a realm outside time, a place untouched by the hurried clamour of life. The moon watched her, pale and luminous, casting her shadow long and slender against the white snow. She stood once more by the lake, her breath crystallizing in the air, her heart quickening. Tonight felt different, as if the lake had been waiting for this precise moment. This night, when only the smallest sound could pierce the brittle quiet, she knelt down, her fingers reaching out to graze the icy surface, and felt a warmth bloom beneath her touch. The ice pulsed, gentle and slow, like the rhythm of a heartbeat. A voice, soft and lilting, like the memory of a lullaby, whispered to her through the frosty air. "We are bound, chained to this prison of ice. Will you help us, princess?" The words seemed to echo from beneath the lake, filling the quiet with a sorrowful melody that wove its way into her heart. She leaned closer, her breath casting a pale mist upon the ice. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely more than a murmur. The answer came slowly, winding through her mind as if it had travelled from a distant, forgotten past. "We are the keepers of the light and shadow, the guardians of the lake, sealed away by an oath we could not break. Our slumber is deep, but our hearts are still bound to the world above." Ilara's fingers traced the ice, her touch gentle yet determined. "Why do you seek me?" she asked, her voice carrying the weight of her curiosity and courage. "What must I do?" A silence lingered, thick and heavy, before the voice returned, laced with both hope and sadness. "You, child of the ancient blood, carry the lineage of those who once walked with us in harmony. Only through you can the lake's veil be lifted, the chains broken." Ilara felt a shiver course through her, not from the cold, but from the weight of this revelation. She had grown up with tales of her ancestors, those who once held powers forgotten to time, protectors of the delicate balance between light and shadow. But those were stories meant to entertain, legends to lull a child to sleep. And yet, here she was, standing at the edge of a lake that seemed to hold more truth than any tale. "Tell me how," she whispered, feeling the lake's ancient gaze upon her. A shimmer passed beneath the ice, a faint glow that swirled and danced, forming patterns both intricate and fleeting. "Come to us," the voice urged softly. "Step beyond the ice, and you will see." Ilara hesitated, her heart thundering in her chest. To step beyond the ice? It was a task shrouded in peril and mystery. Yet the pull she felt was undeniable, a tether drawing her deeper into the unknown. She closed her eyes, took a steadying breath, and stepped forward, her foot touching the frozen surface with careful reverence. A soft warmth spread beneath her feet, melting away the chill of the ice. The ground gave way, and with a quiet gasp, she found herself descending, not through ice or water, but through light itself, a luminescent spiral drawing her downward, cradled by a gentle energy that enveloped her like the warmest embrace. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer on the lake's edge, nor within the icy depths. She stood in a vast cavern bathed in soft ethereal light, its walls glistening with crystals that seemed to pulse with their own inner fire. Shadows and light danced in harmony, casting shifting patterns across the stone. And there, before her, stood figures, tall and graceful, their forms as delicate as mist, yet as solid as the earth beneath her feet. They were guardians, their features serene yet sorrowful, their eyes closed as if in eternal sleep. Their bodies shimmered, woven from the very light and shadow that filled the chamber. Though they were silent, their presence spoke to her, filling her with a profound sense of awe. Elara felt a surge of recognition, as if she had known these beings all her life, though she had never seen them until this moment. They were the protectors of the balance, creatures born of magic, bound by a promise older than memory. And now they awaited her aid, trusting in her with an unspoken plea. "Free us," the voice from the lake whispered again, now stronger, richer, as if strengthened by her presence in this hidden realm. "We are bound by a curse woven from shadows and sealed by ice. Only one who carries the blood of the ancients can release us. But beware, princess. The darkness that seeks to consume us still lingers, waiting for the moment we awaken." Elara stood tall, her fear replaced by a fierce determination. She could feel the weight of generations upon her, and with it, the promise she had inherited. She was no longer just a princess of the kingdom. She was the heir to a legacy she barely understood, bound by duty to these ethereal beings who had watched over her world from beneath the lake's frozen surface. "I will help you," she vowed, her voice steady and strong. She could feel the chains of the past loosening, the ancient promise resonating within her heart. The guardians around her stirred, their eyes fluttering open, gleaming with gratitude and caution. The journey was just beginning, and Elara could sense that the true depth of the lake's secrets had only just been revealed. The frozen lake above was no mere body of water. It was a gateway, a veil between realms, and she, the princess of the castle above, was now bound to its ancient guardians, entrusted with a promise of light, shadow, and all the mysteries that lay hidden within. Elara's gaze moved slowly across the chamber, her heart thrumming in time with the silent, rhythmic pulsing of the crystals embedded within the walls. The cavern felt alive, as though it breathed with her, an ancient entity coiled in slumber and just beginning to stir. Shadows and light wove through the air, swirling around the figures that stood before her, their eyes now open, filled with a depth of sorrow and wisdom that surpassed human lifetimes. The guardians were breathtakingly beautiful, their forms both solid and ethereal, like statues carved from mist and moonlight. Their skin gleamed with the faint glow of starlight, and their eyes held an endless darkness that spoke of forgotten eons. They did not speak, but their presence reached into her mind, filling her thoughts with images, memories that were not her own, whispers of a world she had never seen. "We are the children of light and shadow," came the soft, wordless voice, resonating within her. "Once we walked among your kind, protectors of the balance, beings of both realms. But when the dark force rose, intent on consuming our magic, we bound ourselves beneath the ice to protect your world and to protect ourselves." The air thickened, pressing gently against her skin, a sensation that felt like the weight of history itself. Images unfurled in her mind, forests drenched in golden sunlight, rivers coursing with liquid silver under moonlight, creatures dancing in harmony across a realm she could scarcely comprehend. These guardians had once moved through her world, luminous and unseen, their magic woven into the very fabric of nature. But then came the darkness, an amorphous entity, a hunger without form, creeping through their land like a shadow that drank light. Elara saw a vision of swirling darkness, relentless and unyielding, seeping through every crevice, seeking to consume every spark of magic it encountered. The guardians, bound by their duty, had no choice but to withdraw, sealing themselves beneath the frozen lake, far from the world above, waiting for a time when they might safely awaken. Elara felt a pang of sorrow. They had chosen to become prisoners within their own realm, guardians shackled in a prison of ice and silence. Her voice trembled as she spoke, the words heavy with reverence. "You sacrificed so much, all to protect us." One of the guardians, a figure with eyes as dark as a storm-laden sky, took a step forward. Though they were silent, she felt their thoughts touch her mind, a gentle brush of ancient power. And now the darkness stirs once more. Though our bonds weaken, we cannot break free alone. The shadows are eager, princess. They feel the loosening chains and wait for our return, hungry as ever. Her pulse quickened, the weight of her task pressing down upon her like the cold bite of winter. She was not merely here to release them. She was here to confront a force as old as the guardians themselves. Elara's hand brushed the pendant at her neck, a small heirloom from her mother, its stone an odd blue that seemed to glisten with an inner light. It had always been a comfort to her, though she never quite understood why. Now she felt its warmth spread through her, steadying her resolve. "Then tell me," she said, her voice strong despite the dread creeping into her heart. "How can I free you without letting the darkness rise again?" The guardians exchanged glances, a silent exchange heavy with unspoken truths. Then the storm-eyed figure stepped closer, extending a hand. In their palm, a small fragment of ice glowed, refracting light into a prism of colors. "This shard holds the last light of our realm, captured in the moment we surrendered ourselves to this prison. If you take it, you will carry our strength, and with it, the power to seal the darkness once more. But beware, this light is fragile, and the shadows will seek to snuff it out. Elara took the shard, feeling its warmth seep into her hand. It was strangely alive, pulsing with a faint heartbeat, an echo of the Guardian's ancient magic. As she held it, she sensed a flicker of power, a strength that was both beautiful and perilous. She understood now. To awaken them, to lift the veil of ice, she would have to face the darkness, to stand as a barrier between light and shadow, just as they had done. The other guardians surrounded her, their eyes glowing with a soft, mysterious light. She could feel their gratitude, their trust in her, a trust that felt like a solemn vow binding her to their fate. Once you leave this place, the light in the shard will guide you. Follow it, and it will lead you to the lake's heart, where our bonds are sealed. There, you must release us. As they spoke, the chamber began to dim, the light receding as if retreating back into the crystals on the walls. The guardians grew faint, their forms merging with the shadows until only their eyes remained, luminous and watchful. "Remember, princess," the voice whispered, drifting around her like a final embrace. "The darkness will come, but do not falter. You carry our light now, and with it, our trust. Protect it, for it is all that stands between this world and the shadow." And with that, the chamber vanished. Elara found herself standing once more on the frozen surface of the lake, the cold air stinging her cheeks. But now she felt the shard's warmth nestled in her palm, a fragile glow piercing the winter night. The lake stretched before her, an endless expanse of ice, yet she could feel the Guardian's presence all around her, woven into the very fabric of the frozen realm. She took a breath, steeling herself for the journey that lay ahead. The shard pulsed, a beacon guiding her toward the lake's heart, where the final veil of ice awaited her touch. Elara knew now that she was bound to the Guardians, to their light and shadow, and to the promise she had made. With each step across the icy lake, she felt the darkness stir, its ancient hunger rising, sensing the awakening light. But Elara's resolve was unwavering. She would face whatever shadows lay in her path, for she carried not only her own courage, but the trust of the Guardians, a promise now etched into her very soul. Elara moved across the frozen lake, her steps silent, her breath a faint cloud in the still air. The shard in her hand glowed with a quiet radiance, casting pale, shifting light that guided her forward. Each pulse from the shard was like a heartbeat, a reminder of the Guardian's trust and the perilous task that lay ahead. The lake felt different tonight, darker, as if the shadows had thickened, gathering strength as she neared the heart of this frozen realm. She could sense something just beyond her vision, lurking in the periphery, a presence woven from silence and hunger. The darkness that the guardians had warned her about was close, aware of her every step, waiting for the moment it could strike. At last, she reached the center of the lake, a place where the ice shimmered in a strange, almost hypnotic pattern. Beneath her feet, she saw shapes swirling within the ice, walls of shadow, writhing as though alive. She knelt, pressing the shard to the surface, feeling its warmth radiate outward, illuminating the depths below. The shadows recoiled, scattering away from the light as if burned. You came, as they knew you would. The voice emerged from the darkness, velvety and smooth, coiling around her like a silken ribbon. It was both alluring and menacing, a voice that seemed to slip between the cracks of her thoughts, threading its way into the corners of her mind. They promised themselves to this prison, but the light they left behind was not enough to keep me away. I have waited, and now you bring their magic to me. Elara steadied herself, holding the shard tightly, feeling its reassuring warmth course through her veins. She could sense the entity circling her, a presence formed from the lake's deepest shadows, its essence an insatiable hunger for the magic she carried. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice unwavering, though her heart beat fast. "Why do you seek the Guardian's light?" A chuckle filled the air, low and resonant, tinged with mockery. "I am the one who was cast out, sealed away when your ancestors bound me. They chose the light, but they forgot that light and shadow cannot exist without each other. I am the darkness they feared, the force that seeks balance just as they did." The shadows coalesced, forming a figure tall and imposing, draped in shifting darkness that moved as if alive. Its eyes were fathomless, pools of pure night, and within them, Elara saw a hunger that stretched beyond ages, a yearning for freedom as powerful as the Guardian's wish for peace. She took a step back, but the shard in her hand pulsed with a brighter light, a reminder of the task she was bound to complete. "You cannot have this light," she said, her voice resolute. "The Guardians trusted me to carry it, to protect their magic and this realm." The figure's gaze narrowed, a flicker of annoyance darkening its features. "You think you understand what you carry, child, but you are as much a prisoner as they are. The balance between light and shadow is delicate. Without one, the other is meaningless." Elara's grip tightened around the shard, feeling its power surge in response to the entity's words. She knew he spoke a truth that was ancient and profound, yet his desire to consume the light was undeniable, a selfish hunger veiled in philosophy. "If balance is what you seek," she said, a sudden idea forming in her mind, "then accept the Guardian's light as a part of you without destroying it. Let it be a source of strength, not something to consume." Her words were a gamble, and she felt the risk in her very bones. But she had come this far by trusting her instincts. by walking the line between courage and fear. The shadowed figure stilled, considering her offer, its form shifting as if in contemplation. A flicker of something softer, perhaps almost human, crossed its face, and for a moment Elara saw in it a reflection of her own yearning for understanding, for harmony. "A promise," it murmured, its voice quieter now, tinged with a strange sadness. "A pact between shadow and light. But know this, if you fail, if your heart wavers, I will claim not only this light but the world above as well." Elara nodded, feeling the weight of the vow settle over her. She extended the shard, letting its light spill into the darkness. The figure moved forward, its hands stretching toward the shard with reverent care, the shadows curling around the light, wrapping around it in tendrils that glistened with an ethereal beauty. It was as though night itself embraced the dawn, two forces intertwining in fragile harmony. As they connected, Elara felt a surge of energy, a rush of memories that were not her own. She glimpsed an ancient world where light and shadow danced together, a realm where the guardians walked alongside beings of darkness, each respecting the other's power. She felt the sorrow of their separation, the pain of a promise broken, the loneliness of a being forced into isolation for ages uncounted. And then, as swiftly as it began, the vision ended. She looked down to see the shard no longer glowing with solitary light, but rather pulsing with a blend of darkness and brightness, a unity that felt as natural as her own heartbeat. The figure before her had changed, its form less menacing, its gaze less hungry, though the shadow still clung to it. "You have given me a choice," it said, its voice softer, filled with something almost like gratitude. "I will hold to your promise, princess, as long as you hold to your courage." The figure dissipated, merging back into the shadows, leaving only the shard in her hand. A shard now filled with a new kind of light, one that flickered with both clarity and mystery. The guardian's presence returned, a soft warmth surrounding her, filling her heart with a deep peace. Elara knew she had done what she set out to do. She had bound light and shadow in a vow that would keep the balance, allowing the guardians to awaken without fear of the darkness overwhelming them. She had fulfilled her promise, but in doing so had become part of something far greater, a bridge between realms, a keeper of an ancient equilibrium. As she stood there, the lake around her began to thaw, the ice melting into clear water that reflected the stars above. And in that moment, she understood the beauty of light and shadow intertwined, a promise made and kept beneath the endless winter sky. As dawn's first light brushed against the horizon, Elara felt a subtle shift in the air. The lake, once an impenetrable sheet of ice, now shimmered as the surface began to soften, thin cracks spiderwebbing across the glassy expanse. Warmth rose from beneath, mingling with the chill of the fading night, and she watched as the frozen barrier melted away, layer by layer, revealing the lake's true form. With each passing moment, the guardians emerged from their slumber. Their figures became distinct beneath the water, drifting upward like spectres rising from the depths. As the final veil of ice melted into rippling waves, they surfaced, standing upon the lake with a grace that defied the laws of the world above. They were radiant, their forms woven from strands of light and shadow intertwined, embodying the delicate balance she had fought to preserve. Elara felt their gaze upon her, warm and grateful, as though they spoke without words, sharing their joy at being released. Their beauty was breathtaking, each guardian a symphony of starlight and darkness, as if the essence of the night sky had taken human form. She sensed their emotions, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and a quiet, ancient sorrow that had finally found peace. One of the guardians stepped forward, the storm-eyed figure she had spoken to within the cavern, their expression softer now, touched by reverence. "You have done what we could not, Princess," they said, their voice carrying the weight of millennia. "You bridged the divide between light and shadow, offering us the freedom we longed for without awakening the force that threatened to consume us." Elara bowed her head, feeling both humbled and honored. "I am grateful for your trust," she replied softly. "I only hope to keep the promise that my ancestors left behind." The guardian extended their hand, and Elara placed the shard upon their open palm. The shard now glowed with a new brilliance, pulsing with both light and darkness, a balance achieved through the shared vow. The guardian held it aloft, and as they did, the light within the shard fragmented, scattering like 1,000 stars across the lake's surface. The fragments sank into the water, each piece merging with the depths, infusing the lake with a glow that seemed to come from within. The entire body of water pulsed with a gentle golden light, illuminating the kingdom around it, as though dawn had risen from beneath. For the first time in centuries, the lake was whole, its depths no longer a prison, but a haven for the guardians who would watch over it. "This lake will remain a sanctuary," the guardian continued, their voice resonant and filled with an ancient peace. "Its magic will protect your kingdom, binding light and shadow in harmony. And you, Elara, are now one of us, a keeper of this balance." A gentle warmth spread through her, and Elara felt a change within herself, as though a part of the lake's magic had found a home in her heart. She sensed the guardian's energy weaving with her own, their strength merging with hers, a bond that would endure beyond the bounds of this moment. She was not just a princess of the kingdom above. She was now connected to a realm of light and shadow, entrusted with a duty as old as the lake itself. The guardians began to move, dispersing across the lake like stars scattered in the night sky, each one a keeper of the peace Elara had restored. As they drifted into the distance, Their forms gradually faded into the soft glow of the water, becoming one with the lake they had once guarded from the depths. She felt their presence in the ripples, in the shifting reflections, in the quiet that settled over the land as they sank into their roles as protectors of the realm once more. As the last of the guardians vanished from sight, the lake returned to calm, its surface smooth as glass, but imbued with a quiet radiance that would linger long after. Elara stood alone upon the shore, gazing out at the transformed landscape, feeling both the ache of farewell and the fullness of having fulfilled her promise. With a final glance, she turned and began the walk back to the castle, the dawn breaking fully around her, casting long shadows that stretched across the snow-dusted ground. She felt different, as if she had left a part of herself behind in the lake's depths, a part that now belonged to the guardians, bound to them by a promise of light and shadow. When she reached the castle, the servants and courtiers greeted her with astonished murmurs, their eyes wide as they took in the golden glow that now emanated from the lake below. Word of the lake's transformation spread quickly, and the kingdom felt a renewed peace, a quiet understanding that something ancient and sacred had been restored. Every winter, as the lake froze over once more, a faint light would shine from beneath the ice, illuminating the kingdom with an otherworldly glow that none could explain. The people began to tell tales of the princess of the frozen lake, a woman of courage and compassion who had bound herself to the guardians, her legacy whispered through generations as the keeper of their secrets. And under each winter's moon, Elara would return to the lake's edge, listening to the soft melodic whispers that floated up from beneath the surface, the voices of the guardians reaching out in gratitude and remembrance. She had become part of their world, woven into the very fabric of the lake, a promise.